everyone. Today we are picking up the second half of our conversation with Donna Hoffman, founder and principal designer of Impeccably Designed Homes and the business coach, the interior design advocate. In part one, Donna walked us through the first pillar of building a profit-proud design business. That was the business of mindset and how understanding your creative brain and reactivity can actually be your superpower in business. In today's episode, we're going to be diving into the next two pillars, the business of your business and the business of sales and marketing. Get ready for more of her actionable insights and real talk about systems, pricing, and building a brand that truly stands out. Let's jump back in. We're talking about those three pillars of a profit-proud business, and that's Donna's, signature term. As a design CEO, these are the things you need to know. So we just kind of wrapped up the business of mindset, your workings as a creative brain. Let's go on, Donna, to the business of the business, that engine that you briefly introduced. What does that mean to you? And what does a
Yeah,
design CEO need to know?
sure. This is the unsexy part of your business. Unless you tell yourself this is the money in the bank part of the business
Money in
as
the bank
well,
is
along with
sexy. I don't
sales.
know what you're
I
talking
agree with you.
Money,
I
money,
agree with
money,
you. But
money.
whenever I talk to designers about, improving systems and creating systems, I get the, oh, you're kidding me stare because it's not
Yeah.
sexy.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
it's
this
not
is
the
where we
fun
get
part.
excited when they're like,
Yeah, I'm
yes,
sitting
we
up
need
in
to
my
do
seat. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
And the thing that's interesting, you are never ever done perfecting your systems, creating and perfecting your systems. And as a design CEO, if something goes off the rails, falls off the tracks in your business in a project, there are two places to look. I think you look to yourself as a manager first. Did I give these individuals, if you have team, did I give everyone enough
well, that
information,
should be
enough
what you
support?
do. We talked about this on an episode. We made a joke about which
Yeah.
direction is the finger going.
And
That
very often the
should
fingers in both
be.
directions,
Yes,
right? It it
yes,
it
it
might
is.
be, 20/40, 20/80,
Yes.
60/40,
But
whatever.
I'm just loving that you're saying I agree. It's just the first step is to evaluate yourself. And then that finger, can
Right.
start to do its thing up and
Yeah.
down, but it should always start there. And then I'm assuming you're going to go into controlling the reactivity as you're
No,
doing
actually,
that analysis. But,
no. No, the next place I'm gonna go is looking at how did the system fail?
Okay.
Are we missing
Yeah.
a step? Are we missing a system? Do we need to perfect something? And as a business, designers think that it's like a set it and forget it, design CEOs who are more in like a dilettante vision of their business. Your business is never set it and forget it, and you're always perfecting your systems. I was in a meeting earlier with my team, and we looked at something for delivery prep because our projects are quite large. Something that we can do better next time that's going to reduce churn for our team because I know my designers, they don't do well when they're getting into overwhelm and stress for reasons that we've already talked about. So business systems and operations, it's the engine that it's what keeps your engine moving along. It's also how you price. I'm one of the only coaches in America, and I think you guys are there with the only other coaches in America. I don't think fixed fee is the
No,
be all end all. I think there's a lot of risk for designers in fixed fee, a
absolutely not.
lot.
Amen.
I prefer a hybrid type of vision for a
Mm-hmm.
total project, but I do like fixed fee for certain elements you can control, 2D elevations, 3D
Small deliverables.
models.
Small
Exactly.
deliverables. That's it. If you want to
Right.
do a flat fee or a seed sale, as I call it, because you want these tiny packages with real estate agents to get your foot in the door. Other than
Right.
that, you sell with making it feel like the client has boundaries of a design fee range, right? With a
Right.
divine scope, but it really is retainer hourly. There is just so much that you can control.
Right.
And I usually say it's okay to start that way when you're not paying a team of people because you have your learning curve. You got to set up accounts. There's just so much learning to do. But once
Mhm.
you break that threshold and you're climbing to the point of delegation, you have to start changing the way the rodeo has been working to that point on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So process is a big part of the operation side of your business. How you charge, part of the operation side of your business, but they're also confidence drivers for you as a design business owner. Because when you've got good process, good fee structure, You lean into those and let those do the heavy lifting for you so you're not doing the heavy lifting. I just presented a proposal yesterday to a young family. I know we're a bit of a stretch for them, but they really are excited to work with us. I really like them and their project. And their project's pretty small for a company like ours. The design fee on it's only about $50,000. The purchasing budget will probably be about $185,000. That's very small for our company. We're usually in the $500,000 and up on design fees, but really like them. And I knew that although we were a bit of a stretch for them, the value that I presented, because our process, the way we take someone through a project scope of work, we started to touch on that earlier. I knew they were going to sign with us. I knew I had qualified them well, process. I knew that I took them through a great first meeting, process. I control that first meeting. I know what we're talking about, when and how. I know I was able to communicate to them very clearly how our company alleviates all the pressure points for a project of their size and scope, process. I delivered the fee scope of work presentation via Zoom, in person, never sending it ahead of time. I go through it real time, process, and the SOW itself, the scope of work itself, I know is really juicy and chewy. And as you were saying earlier, Shayna, sure, you want to reduce the fee. What should we drop out of this? Usually there's nothing anyone wants to drop out.
Nope.
So your operations, your business operations, it's almost like the bubble wrap you put around yourself as a business owner. You lean into that and let that do a lot of your heavy lifting. I cannot believe the bad state of the union for design businesses across the country for their scope of work.
Yep.
My brother was hiring a designer down in Houston. He knows I don't like working with family, adore him, don't want to work with family. But I said, I'll help you identify a designer. And he was sending me their SOWs. I couldn't believe how flimsy these scopes of work were.
Yeah,
There was
they
nothing
don't
in them.
know. As I said, I really think it stems from the education system, not to call that out, but
How do you mean? What do you mean?
in terms of what you learn in school for those final design presentations, because we get a lot of them from the interview process. Tons of people will send their portfolios
Their portfolio
in
is
from
their
school.
final projects.
Yeah, from school. We get a lot of people leaving school, and you see it there, and I think that just comes from, again, creative leaders in the creative space and not really focusing on the business aspect and operations that needs to come with that, the skill,
and profitability
the talent
that needs to come with
everything is there. And you could be a very successful solo and sell those flat fees and everything like that and not grow beyond yourself. Many entrepreneurs don't have that mindset. They don't want to be that one person operation. They see all the negatives with that. There's also challenges in building the bridge. And something I want to bring back that you said, the creative brain. And I've caught myself doing this a couple times where, because you have this talent to imagine the space, like we walk into a space, you can see it. That's why people hire designers, because they don't have that ability to walk into a blank canvas or a dump, and see what that space is going to be. They need the rendering versus we see it in our brain.
Correct.
Processes can be like that. I get caught in this with myself all the time. It just happened to me. Evelyn called me on it. We fixed it. When something wasn't making sense to a client, she's like, I know this is feeling, our new sales process, I know this is feeling so clear to you, but let me just give you some client feedback, and we'll take it from there. And reality is that there were gaps from what was in my brain that wasn't clearly communicated. And when the team gets bigger, it gets more challenging, because you might have told one person, but if 3 other people are affected in that process, you can actually get a communication breakdown if there isn't a clear process. And that's something I'm going to be talking with our team about, is clear processes for streamlining communication next year, so we don't have this kind of popcorn approach. But you can creatively create processes in your brain as well. And that doesn't mean you're done. Step 1 is to mentally
download your brain.
Yeah, like create that in your brain. Step 2 is the communication. Step 3 is the documentation. Step 4 is the review. Step 5 never ends, is that enhancement, which I know you pointed to.
And
it just never, ever changes.
Yeah.
And first process is the baseline foundation. I would say second layer or new layer I haven't thought about is identifying your traits as a leader and then layering in those reactivity elements that aren't necessary, they're necessary. I don't want to say that. They're necessary because you are you and you are the
Mhm.
owner and it needs to rock around you. But it's
Mhm.
that second layer of sophistication of
Mhm.
understanding, going back to this is who I am. I'm doing the thing, and this is how I could create inside this foundation of my process to cut this thing or this reactivity off. You could even do it for a larger team if your team is overturning for certain specific areas of stress. There are
Mm.
things that you can do. Example, something we're doing in a low 7-figure design firm that
Mhm.
we're supporting is the clients having a lot of reactivity after the purchase phase because things
Mm.
always come damaged. That just happens. Like there's
Mm.
too many things, too
Mm.
many humans, things are going to go wrong. We touch on this in the beginning, but so much time has come. There's all this excitement. They spend all this money, right? And then these civilians are like, hey, I spent all this money. Like, where's all my stuff? Wait a second, this is damaged. I'm not paying for this, in all the terms. So, and that's very stressful on supportive staff who's literally just trying to do their best
Mm.
in managing the claim, working with the vendors, they're working on their time.
And
Clients
to
are not
touch on what we
understanding.
talked about earlier, it's very stressful for the business owner too, who's sensitive or who's empathetic.
Right.
And now it's not
Mhm.
only the stress inside the business that they're carrying,
Mhm.
but it's this client's stress. This
Yeah.
client that's
Right.
not happy is tickling those nerve endings and is
And
Client
now like,
service,
oh, yeah.
tough,
And you know
tough on a
what?
creative brain.
yeah,
Your process, right, might be perfect for that, but there is that second layer of sophistication in helping your team, and who they are. And if that's the trigger point, then layering in someone who doesn't embody that, right? And that's the change we're making in someone's process is so the team doesn't get hit if challenges occur. And because the designer just can't absorb it, I would say my assumption is high level empath, that
Mhm.
money's on the table. The team is spending time to fix issues. You don't want to bill. They're reacting. The assistant staff, the assistant typically will get fired from both angles, of
Mm.
high reactivity. Now they're carrying it because they're creatives. They're on a creative team. So something we're trying is adding to the process where I'm going to come in and talk to that client right before they spend all this money, right before they purchase all these things to remind them of the initial conversations, the emotional journey they're going to be put on, the fact that their assistant team is here to have their back and support them and advocate for them so that we could try to cut that emotion
right.
so that this ripple effect of reactivity doesn't hit your assistant staff and that same churn. This exercise we're talking about the designer, the owner themselves of the design firm. But as you start to grow your support, you have to remember these are other creatives that are being put around you
That's
because
right.
they love interior design. They went to school just like you. They might not be an entrepreneur, might not be in it for them in that business side, but they're more purely the creative in that sense. There's
Right.
not even a bit of business in them. They
Mhm.
will clock 8 hours on sourcing one piece of artwork just to get all the best options, not trying to do the best thing, but not thinking like, oh, I have a 2-hour allocation for this. And if I wasn't
Mm.
told, now I'm just trying to do the best job I possibly can be. And now my reactive, designer who's embodying the feeling of the cost, like how could I build a client to this reactivity again? And so, yeah, I mean, it fires off everywhere. It is that
It does.
foundational tie.
It does, but I do think you hit on a couple of things. I think managing client expectations up front, super important so
Oh,
that you get them excited about their delivery and let them know we live in a perfect world. Everything will deliver at install week, month, or day in perfect condition. We will have outrun actually a lot of problems that will have occurred that you won't even know about in terms of buffing and fluffing and puffing some of the furnishings that arrive with a little bit of a freight problem. But if something passes your threshold on delivery day, and I think it's in the furniture's best interest to leave it in situ, to have a professional come in and buff out a nick on a dining chair, I'm going to do that because it's in the chair's best interest to not be moved again. If I need to reject something curbside because a truck had to make a short stop between the receiver and your home, I'm rejecting it curbside because it's in your best interest that I not let it cross your threshold. I think you used the word that I love, advocate. As long
Advocate.
as your client knows you are their advocate and you will not rest until you get through the punch list after the glorious install walkthrough, the
Yep.
big reveal, then you punch list and say, expect there will be things that I will not be happy with. If I'm not happy with them, I know you won't be happy with them. I'm
Yeah.
going to find everything that needs to be found. And if you find something that I didn't find, it enters our punch list. We don't rest till it's done. I think as long as the client perceives in you expertise and confidence, they're going to not torture you over the X, Y, or Z that
Mhm.
had a nick on
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So I think part of that is designers owning their authority and mastery
Yes.
and delivering the messaging to the client that
Yeah.
we're your advocate. We're going to get
Yeah.
this taken care of
Well, you can
for
Expectations.
you.
say advocate 10 million times, but the client won't feel that until they trust you. And
Yeah.
your process is where you build that trust. Having
And
that
Yes.
locked
setting
in, living by it,
expectations.
the team
Mm-hmm.
representing that in every communication, every step of the way. That's where you build the trust. And that's where they
Mhm.
can let you be that advocate and not fire away at you because they know you are there to have their back. But it
Right.
all comes from how much they have felt that process through that journey
Yes.
with you.
Yeah.
And you
But
know what? So many design business owners and design businesses are not process excellent, not process driven. So that if you are, and you're listening to this, I want you to sell that at the time you are meeting with a prospective client.
mm-hmm.
Sell how gorgeous your processes are. It's not just your aesthetic, but it's also the processes getting people
Absolutely.
there
Yeah.
because that separates you from your competitors. I
Yep.
promise you that.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It's all about making it make sense and clarifying expectations along the way to
Yeah.
control the reactivity from your client so that it doesn't trigger you as the owner, designer, and also
Yep.
doesn't trigger your staff below.
Right.
And those things layer into the process. It's layering in things to control your own personal reactivity for whatever reason, and
Yep.
also those of the client. Because
Yes.
as long as they're clear, like what your explanation, Donna, was just making it make sense, right? As that consumer, why it would be not in your best interest to cross the threshold of entering that curbside. Extra damage. We have no protection to file that claim. We could damage something in your home, and you have to trust me that I am in your best interest. I am going to make these decisions and remind them at the time too. Because one thing I want to say is that no matter how clear you are in the beginning, the process is overwhelming, right? There's a
Mhm.
lot to do. If you correctly made it make sense, now you also have somewhat of an overwhelmed client, but they're also excited because you've built the trust and it does make sense, but it's a lot. So if you
Mhm.
think they're going to remember every little
No.
particular of purchasing a custom item and
Right.
purchasing through wholesale and we use third-party installers, you are absolutely out of your mind. They
Right.
don't.
Right.
And so you have to continue on the sale. The first
Mhm.
stop isn't the last stop on the sales train of making it make sense and aligning expectations. Simply, you can think about that through those kind of 4 simple stages of concept. You could break them down even further. Budget alignment, if you're going to go through that into the detailed phase, revision phase, construction document, installation, you want to break it down that granularly. All of those are points of realignment and
Right.
reevaluation for what's going on in this project. What did we initially agree to? Where are we at? And clarifying the expectations of what's to come next. How is it going to feel for that client so that they don't feel like something came out of nowhere and then react and cause that ripple effect that we're
Right.
talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a basic sales point, sales 101, don't don't concentrate on what you want to say. What do you want your client to hear?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need them to hear?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We've
Right.
got your back.
And if
We're going to
there's a
handle this. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's a point along that process where either you lost it and you didn't feel in control, or you couldn't live by your process for any reason. It wasn't going to serve that client or that project or what needed to happen, or your client didn't seem to know what to expect next. You go back to your process at that
Right.
point to determine, is this a one-time solution? There will be
Right.
one-off things. There will be
Right.
unique things that happens inside your business or inside your projects. Fine. More often, there's something you could iterate on or better document or coach your team around or add to your system of procedures so that at that same point next time, you're not having that same little emotional journey that you went through.
Right.
And that's the point of, I think, this second pillar, which is the business of your business. And is
Mhm.
there anything else around that? What to systematize as a creative brain, or what you're really focused on in the back end of a business that you would want to share?
Sure. Yeah, so you know where you need to start your systemization journey when you look at where are the mistakes happening. So identify the mistakes. That tells you where there's a system breakdown or a system lacking. So I'd have you start there. And then in terms of other things you need to build in, you need to decide when you do start onboarding people, either 1099ers or employees, you need to be really clear with yourself. Do I need somebody on the ops side to take some of that drain and strain off my plate as a business owner, or do I need another design brain? So I think knowing what to outsource or what to onboard is really important as you're growing your business, because to do the really sexy numbers, the seven-figure numbers, I don't think you can really do it as a solopreneur. I think
Mm-mm.
you need a team for
Yeah.
projects the
Yeah.
size that we're doing. I need team around me, period,
Right.
end of story.
And I see designers make the mistake of saying, I need an employee or a freelancer, and the limitations of that in terms of one individual's skill
Yeah.
set. Like you're expecting them to be on the ops side and the design side
Yeah.
when you're already struggling to keep those boats afloat.
Yeah.
More
That's what I love
often.
about what you guys do. I love the fractional model that you offer. And frankly, we might be calling you about something soon.
Hell
So we'll
yeah.
have to talk
I'll
after this
pick up.
episode. You'll pick up.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for mentioning that here, Donna. A little segue. 40 bits. Fractional model for interior designers.
Oh my
No, I'm
gosh, that's
just
so
kidding.
funny.
But I think that there's a huge overlap between your zone of genius and what you're helping designers with in terms of wrapping their mind around this pillar, the business of the business, and what we do on that back end to actually help them create that documentation, determine what those systems should be, get that all implemented. I think
Yeah.
there's a true, sweet spot in marriage between us, which was what made us so excited to talk about
Yeah.
that pillar in particular.
Yeah, and
Um,
fee structure. I know there's a little bit of crossover between this and sales and marketing, but fee structure is super duper important.
Yep.
So is your scope of work. It's a dynamic, living, breathing document. It's what closes your sales.
Yeah.
totally.
It's
Yeah.
one of our questionnaires. If anyone's coming interested in services with us, I made Evelyn put it on as a questionnaire of how they're
Mm,
pricing, because it was a problem for us last year
mm,
that clients were canceling their contracts, right? Or getting frustrated.
Our clients are the
Designers, sorry.
designers. So no, just to make sure it was
Designers,
clear.
yeah, right. Designers not succeeding with their assistants because of the money, and a very high level of reactivity on a few clients, because we're very transparent down to the 0.01 decimal point. You see who clocked in and what they did. And it was it was often the drafting task taking more time
mm.
than they anticipated. And it all spirals down to the pricing model, right? Because the client is driving revisions, which, yeah, is going to drive drafting time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no protection in that quote unquote flat, loosey fee that you did. And whether you're that HSP or empath and also having a really hard time addressing that, because even if there was some rough boundary of one revision, what does that even mean? I hate that. I
Mm-hmm.
hate hearing
Right.
that. And now we see the reactivity. We can also see after conversation a couple of those contract decrease or cancellations. So I layered in, because when I stopped taking the demos. If anyone's going to demo, you'll talk to Evelyn. But I would be meeting people like, I know that you want assistance, but I do not like how you're pricing. And I don't really, it's a lot of work. Selfishly, it's a
Right.
lot of work to train someone, get them on the team. There is a forward investment on our side to also mutually achieving success. And I'm like, I just don't want to, you're not ready, you know, you're not going to feel the benefits.
Right.
When you add in someone like, yes, there's an investment into your company for the foundation, but on that design and operation side, you should be able to directly control the profitability of those
this
hours.
is a growth model. The fractional model is a growth model. Let's spread that out. Having an employee should contribute to your financial growth
Well,
and
right.
profitability.
You know,
And if you're not set up to do that,
And you have to control that non-billable time, right? And that like
right.
you have to know that investment. You also have that bucket of marketing that you need to control. And that helps in the reactive space of the finances, because that's a finances is a hot topic. And again, stems from that pricing model. You
Yep.
should
And
be profiting.
we are not in a business that's a no investment business.
No.
Granted, we're not a bricks and mortar bakery where there's a lot of
Right.
equipment you need to purchase. But we are absolutely operating in an industry where there is a significant number of design CEOs that think they do not need to invest in business support like what you guys offer, coaching, of course, programs, libraries, all of that, AI. We are not in a no cost business, and hobbyists approach our industry as if I don't ever have to invest in it. We're a low investment business compared to other business other industries, but we're not a no investment, and that's a mindset that the competitors that you're comparing yourself to, if they're ahead of you and they're out of the weeds, they are investing in their businesses. They are investing in coaching. They are investing in getting people in to leverage themselves to do more in order to build more.
yeah.
It all
And if
stems
this
around those
feels like a
systems.
hot button topic, we
Another
just did an
podcast
episode
episode.
about that. Pay to play. Go listen to it, because you do have to invest back into your business and yourself if you really want to succeed long term and get past, whatever threshold you're at right now. But I think all of this makes a really great segue. Correct me, Donna, if I'm wrong, but we're kind of like moving down this spectrum really to that first pillar, which you introduced as the business of sales and marketing. You've referred to it as the fuel for the engine. So take us through that and kind of what a design CEO needs to know at the top of this whole funnel.
Yum. It's a yummy pillar. I love this pillar.
I think this is
love
especially your special
sales
sauce,
and
right?
marketing. Gosh, I love it, love it, love it to bits. And it's always amazing to me when design CEOs say, I feel uncomfortable selling or feel slimy and pushy. I take the slime and pushiness out of it right off the bat by talking about something called meaningful marketing and sales. And for sales and marketing to be meaningful, it has to be rooted in true enthusiasm for what you do, loving what you do in by way of what it does for your clients, how it serves your clients. And also it has to be rooted in a spirit of service and service and service and more service and more service. When you know that your blueprint service, when you are working with a new build, when you know that your blueprint optimization service is such a fantastic tool for your clients, it's going to save them change orders, construction aggravation, because you're going to prove that the blueprint that they want to build works as is, or if it needs modification, you're going to find it. When you are so thrilled about what you're doing for them and the benefit of it to them, it's a joy to talk to people about it. If you are convinced that you are an expense and it's just a thing that you do, good luck selling that. You are going to feel pushy. You are going to feel slimy. But when I can get people aligned with an authentic belief and excitement, true enthusiasm about what they're doing and why they're doing it and how they're doing it for people, not in an airy-fairy sense, really in the sense that I just gave that example. The benefit of this service to you, my client, is XYZ or ABC through Z. Then selling becomes just an easy conversation. And you're so happy to take people under your wing.
But it's
And
so
you really do feel
interesting,
like their
Donna,
advocate.
because, I'll be in a marketing onboarding, which is essentially a strategy call with a new client. And it's like, it shuts off that part of their brain where they are recognizing that benefit. Because if I try to draw out of them their unique selling proposition, they'll, many, not all, some of you have really done this exercise for yourself. And if you have, credit to you. I'm not talking you down, but unique selling, what? And it's like we just talked about, do you have an incredible process That's all I'm asking you about. Or God forbid I say call to action and they're like, oh no, that feels like
Yeah.
that's so cringy. It's like, what? No,
Yeah.
you're just directing people to where they
Yeah.
need to go. But it
Yeah.
just shuts some people down.
Well, you got to back it up. I think people start where I just started. The place I start designers in the first month that they coach with us, with me, you have to get your branding aligned. And I know that's like a big groan and an eye roll. Ah, is this another person talking about my branding? Yeah, it is. Because if you don't understand your branding benefit, your branding point of difference, what are you talking to that new builder about? What are you talking to that new client, prospective client about? So, you know, and then so many designers fall into this very generic branding statement. I was at a heaven forgive me. I was at a conference listening. I was speaking at a conference and I heard other people speaking at this conference. And some of the speakers were phenomenal, thought they just had really great value and info and takeaway. But there was one speaker who kept talking about how to put together branding. And she's a former publicist, no, publisher, pardon me, for one of the shelter magazines. And she kept taking branding statements that I thought were kind of weak that she was crafting in front of people. And she kept leaning into, we make happy spaces.
Oh
We make
God.
spaces that are happy. Yeah,
Oh
thank you. If I said
God.
that to one of the builders that I'm having lunch with next week, let me tell you a little bit about Impeccably Designed Homes. We make happy spaces. He's going to look at me like I have 12 heads. I mean, really, what does that mean? But when I talk about the fact that we specialize in large scale new build that takes a modern approach to transitional design, then he knows what my sweet spot is. He knows where to put me. And so when he calls me, like someone just did saying, Donna, we've got a project, it'll be perfect for you. It's a large scale new build. He was spitting back to me
Right.
exactly what I said to him over coffee, 9 months ago.
Right.
So
This
knowing
client
what your
wants to
sweet
be
spot
happy.
is.
I think they'd be great for
Yeah, every
you.
client wants to be happy. That's like
Yeah.
saying, I'm Donna Hoffman. I breathe air. Yeah, we
Right.
know you breathe air.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I do with my design CEOs is to work with them on crafting these really gorgeous branding statements that they can hang their hat on. And then all of the services that they're creating, they're offshoots of that. And it all tracks back to, it's like spokes on a wheel. It all makes sense. So, and I think too, you niche, you brand, and you diversify. You do both.
Mhm.
So, and that's a bigger lesson, and then we have time for. But I do think that that's part of a confusion point for so many design businesses, which is why so many design businesses sound like Me Too businesses. I create
Yeah.
beautiful spaces. We do upscale luxury. Yeah, you and everyone else, So there's a lot of Jenny the generalist out there kind of
Right.
design
Yeah.
businesses. And I want to see as many design businesses as possible billing sexy 6-figure into 7-figure numbers. And you can't do that just doing the same old thing you've been doing because it's
Yep.
not working.
Right.
Yeah. Something we found interesting is a lot of times if I'm helping on, the price, when you're reworking your pricing model, in turn, you're wireframing your process. It's the same thing. Without
Yeah.
getting weedy into it, you are doing that. And after that exercise, there's this clarification of what your services actually are. Because they're just all over the place. And in turn, usually we see a turning point right there where I'm like, okay, here, go meet with Evelyn. Because with that newfound clarity of what their services could be in this process, that branding somewhat can emerge from that, or
Mhm.
there's a little bit more sight on what's happening to help them draw that out. Oh, you always do black and white illustrative renderings and then layer in this very high level 3D approach throughout your process. Well, that's very unique. That
Mhm.
process right there, a lot of designers aren't offering. So you should be talking about that inside of your branding and your marketing. So
Right.
I do find that people struggle with that. They
They
really
do.
struggle to craft that statement. And it's just like when they say, I don't have a process. If you've operated jobs, you have a loose process. You didn't,
Right. That's true.
it's
That's a
like,
good point.
like
Yeah.
it's there. You don't think it is, but more is there than you think. It's just drawing it out, understanding the traits, understanding how roughly you've been working things, understanding how you could be in a niche, you could be solving a problem that's different than someone else out there, and layering that into your visibility, and then leaning on the consistency of your visibility strategy. And I love hearing you say, like, I have a builder meeting next week. Like, that should be in your routine. That's a part of the sales, building those
Networking.
relationships,
Big time. Yeah.
clarifying what you are, and also identifying their problems. That's what I
Yeah.
talk about all the time.
And
Right.
that brings me to kind of my next question for you, Donna, and this pillar, which is like the business of sales and marketing is a funnel. It is a
Yeah.
pipeline. So
Yeah.
how do you help interior designers create that machine that
Yeah.
keeps people going into the pipeline, that keeps people going into the funnel, and keeps
Yeah.
people moving down it to that point of sale?
Yeah. I did this great talk at the Interior Design Society in New Orleans a couple of months ago to their national conference, and I talked about pipeline leaks. Some will surprise you, some will annoy you, all will cost you. And the real, first aha moment for the designers in the room, the 200 designers I was talking to, was that your pipeline is not this nebulous thing that starts outside your company. Your pipeline starts outside your company, connects to your company, it runs through your company, and then out your back door. That's all your sales pipeline. So there's the attraction part of the pipeline. There's getting people to come to the door. Then there's the conversion, getting people into the door. And then there's the internal pipeline process where you're moving projects through. If you have projects that don't complete, clients that drag their feet, that is going to create a capacity problem for you. You won't be able to take on that next fabulous project. So your total sales funnel has to have an endpoint out the back door. We've outboarded them, they're punch listed, they're fabulously happy, and they're going to come back to you for subsequent projects as well.
Yep.
So the first thing I like doing with designers, which ultimately ends up addressing the pipeline, which is so important. I have to start with branding. You have to, because it's a key part of the spokes of the wheel have to connect to something. And then from there, I also work with them on different service packages that they're selling, and how to name them and how to speak about them, how to price them as well. Sales and marketing, the numbers are in there too. Getting that scope of work to be gorgeous. We started to talk about it in operations because it kind of goes between the operations pillar and the sales and marketing pillar.
It does.
And also, I start to work with my designers fairly early on that messaging, because it also affects your networking. Networking is part of your marketing efforts, and the highest
Amen.
quality leads are going to come from those networking efforts. I like to say that the business you don't have today is the marketing you didn't do yesterday, and networking is absolutely a part of that. So it's a big pillar. It's something that I have a 6-month coaching program. It's something we lean into all three pillars during each of the 6 months, but sales and marketing is a heavy, heavy thrust in every single month.
Yeah.
Because if you're not selling, doesn't matter how great your mindset is, nothing's happening.
Yep.
But the pillars are very interconnected. If your mindset is lousy because your sales are lousy, it's like we've got to restart the engine, and starting on that sales and marketing pillar while paying attention to the business of mindset, that tends to restart a lot of engines. And with operations, we have to make sure you can handle all the new business that's coming in.
Right.
Did I answer you sufficiently?
Yeah, absolutely.
I did.
That's kind of exactly what my question was just like, how does your coaching program, which I feel like we should talk about next, definitely to help you get that out there for these designers who need you, how you address each of these things and make them all make sense together and really create that business machine with an engine, with the fuel, with the spark that really runs and can run long term and can keep you feeling balanced and fulfilled at the top of
Yeah.
that. I think that every designer is probably nodding their head like, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a unicorn, and I know that you girls are as well. I'm a unicorn. I'm very right brain, but I'm left brain at the same time. So I'm not a touchy-feely coach. I'm a very warm and compassionate coach, but I'm very linear and strategic. I know how to strategize a business deal. So when my designers are looking at bigger deals, I'm in the trenches with them looking at how to position things and in terms of, as well as with pricing. So a really fun thing that we're doing in January of 2026, we're doing on the 20th, the 21st, and 22nd of January for an hour and 15 minutes a day. It's a business immersion that you can immerse during lunch. Bring your bagel and cream cheese and your coffee with you.
Mm.
So it's online. It's called Ignite. And each of the 3 days for an hour and 15 minutes a day, we're drilling into each of these pillars. And Evelyn, I'd love for you to come to this as well. Shayna, also, I think you guys would find it really fun and exciting to do, and a deeper dive into what we started talking about today. It's $47. It's got a $197, pardon me, value, and we're doing it for 47. To me, it's a way of giving back to our community, and it's a way also for people to experience my coaching. And at the end of the whole thing, I don't go into a pitch about my coaching. I don't. What I do is say, if you'd like to work with me more deeply, let's set up a 25-minute gratis discovery call. I can look at with you where you are now, what are your tripping points, and if I think getting into a 6-month coaching round with us makes sense, then that's what we do. And the doors to that coaching open once a year right now. It opens in February, on February 2nd. And material is sent to my small group of designers. We have a private Facebook group in the full coaching experience. There are 2 Zoom meetups a month, but very importantly, there's a module a month that is also released. It's a 6-month commitment, not a 1-year commitment. I personally don't believe in 1-year programs. I think they have a lot of fluff in them. And I don't believe in making a CEO a lifetime student. I want to build your muscle and get you out of the nest, little bird, out of the nest. And I love getting the emails afterwards saying, I just booked another $500,000, blah, blah, blah. Or I booked my first $20,000, blah, blah, blah. I know how to meet designers where they are.
Right.
So, so the Ignite program, that business immersion, it's 3 consecutive days, January 20th, 21st, 22nd. $47. It's on Zoom. You're in the Zoom room with me. I teach for about an hour, 50 minutes to 60 minutes, and then I open it up to Q&A from there. And it's really meaty content and great takeaway.
So it sounds to me like Ignite would be great for a designer who has heard this podcast and thought, oh man, I need to work with Donna long term. I want the 6 month, like this is a great starting point, and or tons of value for someone who wants to kick off their year with something valuable, whether they do or do not plan to take that farther with you. There's still so much to learn and dive into with a community of designers.
1,000%. Yes. Yes, yes, and yes.
Great. Cool. Awesome.
Good.
Well, Donna, thank you so much for today. I feel like there was so much overlap of the things that we're so passionate about helping designers succeed with, and your unique way of speaking about these pillars and making it make sense to these designers, why it's important. So we appreciate you so much for being here. Okay, that wraps up part 2 of our conversation with Donna Hoffman. If there's one thing we hope you take away from today's episode, it's this: your business needs a solid foundation. Donna's 3 pillars of mindset, operations, and sales and marketing are not 3 separate pieces. They work together to create a profit-proud business that actually supports you instead of draining you. So if you want to grow beyond where you are today, you have to invest in the right support, the right systems, and yes, even the right coaching to get you there. If today's conversation inspired you to take the next step in your business success, please be sure to sign up for Donna's 3-day Ignite Business Immersion Workshop that's happening January 21st through the 23rd. Like Donna said, this event is specifically designed for interior designers just like you who are ready to unlock profit, master their business engine, and embrace sales and marketing with confidence. This is 3 days of high-level coaching, access to a private Facebook community, and a bonus gift pulled straight from her paid coaching program. This is a live, interactive virtual event where you'll get real-time feedback, connect with other motivated design business owners, and walk away with actionable strategies you can implement immediately. If you've been spinning your wheels or you're feeling stuck at your current revenue level, this is your opportunity to break through. So check the show notes for the link and register before spots fill up. And if you'd like to talk through your own business challenges, refine your marketing strategy, or explore how our fractional support model can help you scale, you can also schedule a free call with us at fordesignerbusiness.com or check the link in the show notes. Don't forget, you can now leave us an anonymous voice memo with your questions at fordesignerbusiness.com We would love to hear from you, and your question might even be featured on a future episode. Thank you so much again for joining us on this 2-part series with Donna Hoffman. We hope her insights have given you the clarity and the confidence to take a bold leap into the next level of your business success. Remember, you have the power to shape what's next. Until next time, keep designing and keep dreaming.